from my text platform. If you have a question, you can text me. The number is below, 402-256-0768. I'm trying to answer the questions several times per week. They build up a little bit, and then I try and talk through them, and so that's what I'm doing right now. Hi, Dr. B. Question for you. Our son turned 1 last month and has started hitting and scratching. We've tried telling him no. We've also telling him blah, 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 blah. I'm assuming it's frustration and lack of being able to communicate. We feel a little lost on how to remedy this and overwhelmed because I'm sure it only gets tougher from here. Any help would be so appreciated. Thank you. Okay. Hitting, scratching, biting, banging your head against the wall, stealing the remote control. What other iterations of this? Those are the big ones. Totally normal. Totally common. Especially we've got a 12, 13-month-old. Very normal. And I think you hit the nail on the head. You're a first-time parent. You're stressed out. You don't know what to do. It's like, why? I love them so much. Why do they keep hitting me and scratching me and all those things? And I think you also hit the nail on the head of, we're overwhelmed. We're frustrated. He doesn't know how to communicate. And that's what leads to those behaviors is, I have something that I want to tell you. I don't know how to tell it to you. What do we do? In terms of the behavior, what I would do is try and give it as little attention as possible. Scratching, hitting, biting, stealing the remote control, banging your head against the wall are attention plays. And it's, usually they get a nice big withdrawal from the attention ATM because parents run over and say, oh, don't hit your head on the wall, or ow, that really hurts, don't do that. Why would you hit mommy? Don't you love mommy? I love you so much. It gets a huge attention play, and that reinforces the behavior because any attention is good attention when you're 13 months old. And so what I would do is I would try and avoid giving it attention. Oh, we don't bite. I like that oh noise. I use that oh noise all the time. Oh, we don't hit. Oh, we don't hit our head against the wall. What you'll find is that quickly they realize, okay, that behavior didn't really get me what I was looking for. It didn't really get me any positive gain whatsoever. And so I'm just going to move on and try something else. And then they'll keep trying things else. Eventually, around age 20, most kids have moved out of the house and they usually quit with all of the attention plays. But between now and then, it's a lot of different ways of getting your attention. The more positive attention that you give for positive behaviors, oh my gosh, you're sitting and playing so nicely. Or, wow, thanks for emptying the dishwasher without grumbling and crying about it. Or, thanks for putting your shoes away. Or, the more positive attention you give things, the more that you're giving money to those things that you want to continue to happen. And the less attention you give to the other things, the quicker they fade into the background. It's not easy. You can still say ow, like if you get hit in the head or bit or ow, ooh, that hurts, but I would just try and minimize as much as you can. And then for this age group, what I would do is 13 months old, oh, we don't hit, and then just set down. You don't have to try and put in timeout. That just turns into a nightmare of like, well, my kid doesn't get what timeout is, and now I'm holding him over in the corner and expecting that he gets this as he thrashes and moves and everything like that. Like, that doesn't typically work. And so I would just make it as, oh, we don't hit. Oh, we don't bite. That sort of thing. Totally normal. It doesn't necessarily get tougher. They just find different ways to iterate. So I wouldn't worry too much that, like, if you don't have a handle on this, things are only going to get worse from here. It's just different versions of this for the next, 18 years. But parenting is fun. Okay, the next question. My 4-year-old wakes up early, 4 a.m. or earlier, and refuses to go back to sleep, screams and cries for 2+ hours. This is only worse because last weekend was daylight savings time, which means that 4 a.m. or earlier is now 3 a.m. or earlier, which is just crazy to me and really frustrating and a big struggle. Like I've said before, getting kids to... I apologize. I need to spit my gum out. I was trying to do this with gum in my mouth, and that was just a bad idea. Getting kids to sleep in later is challenging in and of itself. Getting them to sleep in later on daylight savings time is equally challenging. What you'll find is, I'm just going to take this from the standpoint of daylight savings time just happened. What do we do now? And this applies to both situations. But if you can progressively keep them up a little bit later at night, now I'm not talking like take an 8 o'clock bedtime and make it a 10:30 bedtime because that just sounds terrible for everyone. You can push it back 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. Eventually that will help and it will make things better. I actually have a friend, Dr. Craig. Kanapari, who has a great book called It's Never Too Late to Sleep Train. And he talks about that in his book too. And I really like that, just a little bit later. And then when they wake up in the morning, trying to keep them in their rooms, trying to keep them quiet is challenging. I don't think that you need to bring him into your room or anything like that, but I would just give him some quiet options of things to do if he wakes up really early. And once you've done that and like put some books out, we have these little like puck Puck lights that like you can put them underneath the counter like to make fancy looking kitchen counters, but we put them we give them to the kids and they just, like they're tap lights, like you tap on them to turn them on, and then they can read quietly in bed or do those sorts of things that are pretty non-disruptive. If you want to say, hey, when your clock turns 5, you can, get out of bed and you can turn your puck light on and then you can read and do that sort of thing, totally fine. That's reasonable to do. So that's probably what I would do for the most part, is try and push bedtime back just a little bit until we re-equilibrate, and then give him special things, a special box of morning activities to do, because nobody wants to be up at 4 a.m. And it's stressful and frustrating, especially when they're crying for 2 hours. So let's eliminate the crying from it by just embracing we have an early riser, but they need to stay quiet in the room. You're 4. You can keep yourself occupied. Don't turn the TV on. Don't eat Oreos. Otherwise, do your thing. Okay, if this is helpful, comment yes below, because I would love to know that these are helpful to talk through these questions. And if you have a question, you can text me 402-256-0768. Get your question answered live on one of these sort of videos. Nervous about sending our 7-month-old and 3-year-old back to daycare post-Thanksgiving and post-Christmas. We are celebrating virtually with the family and no in-person plans to do our part for our community. Thank you. But frustrated that others likely won't do the same. I'm frustrated by that too. As our numbers continue to not improve. Thoughts? This is probably somebody that lives in the Midwest, where it's red everywhere right now and just a hot mess. And so nervous about sending them back to daycare post-Thanksgiving and post-Christmas. I understand the nervousness about that. I think in general, you're doing your part, and that is literally all that you can do. We do still have to like do normal stuff at times in life, and so I think it's okay to send them back to daycare. It's not perfect. You may have an exposure. You may have to quarantine, those sorts of things, but we do still have to live life. And if you're doing your part, then that's literally all that you can do. We know that daycare and school exposures, they're typically not huge super spreader events. And so my hope would be that we're doing what we can. We're limiting spread in our community. If everybody can do that, like you said, it will contribute to overall improvement rather quickly. But I know it is very frustrating, and it's frustrating when you see other people that are not doing what they could or should be doing. I would just try and stay strong. Send your kids back to daycare when you're feeling comfortable with it, when you're okay with it. It's not easy, but it is like we do still have to like work our jobs and contribute to society in other ways. And it's hard, and a lot of people just don't have another option. But what we know is daycare and school exposures typically don't result in big super spreader events. Most daycares and schools are not even having cases spread or anything like that. So I think in general it is okay to go about those normal things, doing what you can. And you're already limiting in-person events for Thanksgiving and Christmas, which is huge too. What are your thoughts on swimming lessons during COVID? I'm trying to keep kids active in somewhat normal activity. It depends. I think that in general, limiting these activities is wise because they're wants and not needs. Yes, they're a good way to be active, but we can think of other ways to be active. Even doing jumping jacks in the snow in the middle of winter is active. And frankly, unless you're in a part of the world where case counts are really low, like these just contribute. Not just the swimming lessons, which you're in chlorine and blah, 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 but all of the other opportunities, whether it be the parents congregating and spending time together while they're waiting for the lessons to start or end, whether it be the kids in the pool and all those different settings where you can still have case transmission. It's really hard to say, hey, we can't do this, but it is like not forever. And this is just a short season of our lives where we're limiting activities and things like that. And it is really hard, but I think if you're saying, we'll do swim lessons, but then we got an exposure at swim lessons and we have to quarantine for 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever it is, that's a lot of time to be out of school and a lot more stress all for a swimming lesson, which I will grant you that swimming lessons are important, but given the circumstances, I think it's something that can probably wait, and I probably won't make any friends by saying that, but things like that can wait. And I mean, it keeps kids at school, which is more important, certainly. Or if your child were to get it and then expose classmates, and then we have other families that are quarantining, isolating, or dealing with cases amongst them because of swimming lessons, like those are things that we can just put on hold and do something else for a short time period. We can hunker down, and once we get through this, we can go hog wild on swim lessons and soccer and everything like that. I would say save your time, save the frustration, save the mental anguish over. Oh, I can see him over there, and he's standing way too close to somebody. Why aren't they wearing masks? Why are those people? I mean, I would just eliminate it and be an introvert for a little bit. Not easy to do. I'd love to know what you think, though. Comment below what your thoughts are on soccer, basketball, swimming lessons, volleyball, cheerleading, all those different things, because this is not easy, and I totally get that and respect that it's really hard. Okay, last question. We've been noticing our 2-year-old daughter is becoming more resistant to getting ready for bed after her brothers have gone down at 8 p.m. She fights us tooth and nail to get her jammies on, change her diaper. What can we try to change? Her brother are much older, 5 and 7. So I think, what I'm hearing here is she must have a different bedtime routine than the other two. I would combine them all into one bedtime routine, expect that, hey, the 5 and 7-year-old can participate in the bedtime routine. They can help to do things with the 2-year-old, get the 2-year-old excited to brush her teeth, and put everyone down at the same time. I guess that would be my thought. I don't know all the specifics of this, but I think if it's becoming a really resistant thing, get everybody involved so it's a family affair, and then maybe get her in her jammies early. Like sometimes we'll even do jammies pre-dinner if we need to, so that there's a smoother transition to bedtime, and it's not this big thing where we were doing something fun and now we got to go get jammies on and it's really big pain. Just slowly slide into bedtime. Get everyone on the same bedtime routine. That would be my advice. I hope this has been helpful. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below. If you're not on YouTube, you should go over to YouTube and check out my Raising Good Parents channel, because that's where all my video content is, and it's so much easier to find it than on social media where you have to scroll for ages. Go to youtube.com, search Raising Good Parents, or go to drb.show/watch, and you can find my YouTube channel. Subscribe there, and you'll never miss an episode or one of these lives. And if you have a question, text me, 402-256-0768. Keep up the good work.